Hi folks, I'm Matt, and welcome to my expanded universe, a show where I go through the entire U in chronological order. Asbestos, 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 I know how. Asbestos, asbestos, don't have a cow. Asbestos, asbestos, it's up in your attic. Asbestos, asbestos, it might make you sick. Hey, 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 hey. Okay, I'll stop. All right, folks, today we're going to talk about two comics and then one short story comic book. The first one is, or the first two are actually from the Marvel Star Wars original run, and this one is number 89, written by Ann Nocenti. Now, in this one, Luke visits Soleil, and he's there on a diplomatic mission, but then he helps out a team of rebels on the planet try to track down a traitor. There's a traitor within their group, and Luke has to find out who it is. This is kind of a generic story. There's not really much to talk about. It's okay. It's okay. Kind of forgettable. Hate to say that. But the next one that I want to talk about is written by legendary Archie Goodwin. That's right. He came back and wrote this final comic book. I think it was the last one he ever wrote for Star Wars, because, as I said, the series was ending or about to end at this point, and it's issue 98. Now, in this issue, Han and Nien Nunb go on an escort mission to Valderham. Now, the reason why Chewie isn't in the co-pilot seat is because, if you remember, last time we saw them, they were on Kashyyyk. They had just found, or they just knew about the Nagai now, and after the events of that, Chewie's decided to take some time off, spend time with his family. In the meantime, Han has enlisted Nien Nunb to kind of co-pilot things in the Falcon with him as they still continue to go on missions. And it makes sense that Nien Nunb is the co-pilot because he already co-piloted the Falcon before and Return of the Jedi just recently. So I'm sure obviously Han was okay with him co-piloting it then, so why not have him co-pilot it now? I get that. Now, something about Archie Goodwin, if you remember, he's the one who basically started the expanded universe in a way. I mean, there's Splinter of the Mind's Eye, but he actually did the first comic strips, and his stuff was really good. And if you don't remember, George Lucas was a huge comic book or comic strip fan and a huge fan of Archie Goodwin's. In fact, I don't know for sure, but there's a good shot that Lucas was still reading the comic books, because according to a lot of interviews that we heard, up to 2007, 2008, George Lucas was still going to comic book stores and buying Star Wars comic books, or other people said he was getting someone to buy them for him and he was reading the comic books. He really enjoyed those Star Wars comic books. And I'm sure with the original stuff, he did love Archie Goodwin, and maybe he read this one as well. But I got to agree with George here. Archie Goodwin is great. And folks, when I talk about the comic book, everyone gets on to me. Well, not everyone, but a few of you said, hey, Matt, why don't you ever talk about the art? I mean, there's some great art here. Yeah, and at times I do mention the art. A lot of times I don't, because first off, I am not an art critic. I couldn't tell you, I'd say, oh, this is good. It was okay. That sucked. This is awesome. That's basically all I can really say. So I'm not that big of an art critic when it comes to that, but I do enjoy good art, but I want to focus on the story. The story's where it's at. To be honest, you can have a comic book with tons of great art and zero story, and it's worthless. It's worthless without the good, and even flip it around. Bad artwork with a good story can actually trump the bad artwork. And so with Archie Goodwin, you can tell there's a big difference in the way the story is told. Even without looking at the name, I knew immediately looking upon it, it wasn't Mary Jo Duffy. Now, that's not an insult to Mary Jo Duffy. She did a fine job for what she did. But at the same time, the comic books, the writing was a little rough at times and got a little kiddie and everything, and I'll explain my thoughts on that later. But when Archie Goodwin takes over that now, you're like, oh, this feels it's odd to say this, but like a real Star Wars story. Archie Goodwin really got the feeling and the excitement of what it was to love Star Wars. And when he delivers a story, just like a regular author, you know, you're reading regular authors and you're thinking, oh, this is great. And then every once in a while, a James Luceno comes around, Troy Denning, a Michael Stackpole, Aaron Alston, you name it, Kevin J. Anderson for me. But even without knowing who the author is, when you open the book and start reading, you're going, oh, this is getting good. It's a step better, and that's because of the author, right? Not just the story they write about, but how they write it. And so the way Archie Goodwin tells a story is just so professional, so clean, that in the expanded universe, it feels like this is an actual Star Wars, you know, maybe a deleted scene from Return of the Jedi, a post-credit scene or something. You're like, oh man, this is really good. I can see this happening. And that's what Archie Goodwin's felt like, where Mary Jo Duffy's, a lot of the time, especially in the later issues, started feeling more like a cartoon than an actual comic book series. Again, not trying to slide on Mary Jo Duffy, but Archie Goodwin just feels like real Star Wars, and it's always, always, always enjoyable when he wrote a comic book or any Star Wars story. All right, so the last one I want to talk to you about comes from Star Wars Tales. It was written by Rob Williams. It was called Lucky. Now, this was in Star Wars Tales number 23. And this one, basically, Wedge is recounting how he joined the rebellion. He's basically telling the story now. Here's when I joined, and how lucky he's been over the years, meaning from New Hope to Jedi, and how many scraps and scrapes he's gotten out of before, which is true. Wedge is arguably one of the most luckiest people in the expanded universe, especially as his tales continue. Now, if you're a Wedge fan, just like I've been saying, the books are where it's at. That's where he shines. There's X-Wing book Wedge, and then there's everything else Wedge. Everything else Wedge is okay. It's not bad, but it's okay. And this Tales story falls into that category. It's not bad at all, but it doesn't feel like you're a Wedge from the X-Wing books. Anyway, folks, that's all the time I have for now. See you next time with another video. Hi, folks. I'm Matt, and welcome to my expanded universe. A show where I go through the entire EU in chronological order. Asbestos, asbestos, as best I know how. Asbestos, asbestos, hey, don't have a cow. Asbestos, asbestos, it's in your attic. Asbestos, asbestos, it might make you sick. Hold on, let me try that again.